Hello and welcome to Read Read. Today I am continuing my one essay a day for the month of July by talking about Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal. The full title being A Modest Proposal for Preventing the Children of Poor People in Ireland from being a burden on their parents or country and for making them beneficial to the public, by Dr. Jonathan Swift, and this was written in 1729. Before we go forward, so the whole point of this project is I'm reading a short essay and then I bring some thoughts to you. However, of course, with an essay, it's not like a book, it's not like a novel or anything where you don't necessarily need to worry about spoilers. But for people who already know what this is about, I have to tell you, in all complete honesty, I had no idea. I had no idea what this was about. And if you don't know what this is about, I really want to just say, go to the description, find the link. It's in Project Gutenberg. You can go and read it for free online. If you really have no idea what this is, you have to read it, because it's like there's no way I'm going to be able to accurately capture or convey my emotional journey throughout the reading of this very short essay, but I just have to be very sincere and say I had no idea what it is. I thought Jonathan Swift was going to be talking about, for whatever reason, I had this idea that that Swift was writing about child labor. He was going to be saying that child labor shouldn't be a thing. That was my conception of what it was. Whenever it came up, I must have just skimmed or glossed over it, and so yeah, I had pretty much no idea. I strongly recommend you pause the video, go check out the essay first, and then come back. But for those who have already read it, or for those who just want to see my reaction, I'm going to try to somewhat emulate the experience of what reading this was like. Swift begins by setting up this scene, and he says basically, it is, the first line is, "It is a melancholy object to those who walk through this great town or travel in the country when they see the streets, the roads, the cabin doors crowded with beggars of the female sex, followed by 3, 4, or 6 children, all in rags and importuning every passenger for an alms." And okay, so I'm like, all right, he's setting up a scene. We've got this homelessness problem in mid-18th century Ireland that he must be talking about, and he goes on to just describe them a little bit more. He says, I think we can agree that for everybody this is like a terrible thing. And then he goes on to do some fuzzy maths. I think maybe it's legit, but it just he's reckoning there's about 1.5 million people who live in the kingdom, and then calculating down and down. He says, pretty much what we have is we have about 120,000 children of poor parents annually born, and what are we going to do? What are we going to do about them? How are we going to help them? How are we going to get them off the street? Oh, okay. Is he going to suggest talking about some public schooling system? Is this going to be the start of mandatory schooling for young kids? And I'm like, oh my God, is this the essay that I'm reading? And then I go to the next page, and Swift says, and I quote, "I shall now therefore humbly propose my own objects, which I hope will not be liable to the least objection. I have been assured by a very knowing American of my acquaintance in London that a young healthy child well nursed is, at a year old, a most delicious, nourishing, and wholesome food, whether stewed, roasted, baked, or boiled, and I make no doubt that it will equally serve in a fricassee or a ragout." And I'm just like, he's talking about eating the kids. What the fuck is he not? What? And it's just like my comment, my note in that, when I read that line, I was just like, oh, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about eating the kids. And obviously it's a satirical article. He's not talking about eating the kids. Actually, it's satire, and he's saying that the government is so not providing for people that he's just saying, hey, why don't we just eat them? Which is just absurd. But I'm just thinking about imagine being in 1730 or 1729 and you write an essay saying, hey, we're not caring for our citizens. Why don't we just eat the babies? What the fuck, man? Like, I don't even know. Did Swift get like in trouble for this? This is insane. I have no idea about the history or whatever. But like, you know, because I'm thinking of similar, like, things of similar times. I recently made a video about On Murder, Considered One of the Fine Arts by Thomas de Quincey, but I'm just like, look, dude, it's blowing my mind. It's like finding out, it would be like somebody just, like finding out somebody from the 14th century was talking about, like, I don't know, computers or some shit. Like I just can't believe that he's writing this satire. And then he goes on, he's just like he is doubling down, and as all good satire should. And he's just saying, a child will make 2 dishes at an entertainment for friends, and when the family dines alone, the fore or hind quarter will make a reasonable dish, and seasoned with a little pepper or salt will be very good boiled on the 4th day, especially in winter. And later on, I grant this food will be somewhat dear, and therefore very proper for landlords who, as they have already devoured most of the parents, seem to have the best title to the children. And I'm just like, dude, this category, like this De Quincey and Swift category of English wit from this period of history, I just cannot get enough of it. It's like, I just adore it so much. And he just then doubles down. He keeps talking about exactly the way that they'll be able to distribute it. He gives the exact reasonable pricing for it. And he basically goes on and he says look, I understand that some people are going to object to this and they're going to say that it's cruel and something being cruel is the worst crime. But he goes to list a couple of reasons why, firstly, secondly, thirdly, why this should happen. And first of all, he talks about wanting to lessen the number of papists in the town, or Roman Catholics, because I'm kind of learning the history at the time that there was mostly Protestants in Ireland, and was it the case that there was a big kind of overwhelming or overcrowding of Roman Catholics? You can let me know in the comments. Secondly, he says, basically people who are poor are all of a sudden going to find that they have this amazing asset. You're your own means of production. Just birth a kid and then boom, sell it for like 10 shillings and you're cheering. And this last one, thirdly, whereas the maintenance of 100,000 children from 2 years old and upwards cannot be computed at less than 10 shillings apiece per annum, the nation's stock will be thereby increased £50,000 per annum, besides the profit of a new dish introduced to the tables of all gentlemen of fortune in the kingdom who have any refinement of taste. And the money will be circulated among ourselves, the goods being entirely of our own growth and manufacture. I still cannot be, it's still just not dawning on me that this is what he actually wrote. And the last one, he then kind of subtly sneaks in a anti-domestic abuse point, because he says it would be a great inducement to marriage and everyone would be keen to start having babies, and crucially, men would become as fond of their wives during the time of their pregnancy as they are now of their mares in foal, their cows in calf, or sows when they are ready to farrow, nor offer to beat or kick them, as is too frequent a practice for fear of a miscarriage. I feel like we really need, a good satire of today. But, on the one hand, the thing is, I still also fall into the kind of advice, or the thing that David Foster Wallace said, where it's just you can't just write a good satire and then just be like, oh, look how clever I am for making this satire. It has to really, really pack a punch, because the satire, it's a little bit like, look, I don't mean to date this video, but the stuff that Swift is talking about is showing up in the Epstein files, and it's at what point is there no satire that's more insane than real life? I feel like who was the last really great satirist? I almost want to give an honorable mention. I don't like the idea of a last great satirist, but I want to give an honorable mention to Tom Lehrer, who passed away only recently. We All Go Together When We Go, Poisoning Pigeons in the Park, Masochism Tango. I really think Lehrer was still coming out of this tradition, and if anyone doesn't know about his music, you are really in for a delight. And to basically just come in and add, I think, the final gut punch to the criticism, Swift is saying, oh, he can see no objection to this, and then, therefore, I repeat, let no man talk to me of these and the like expedients till he hath at least some glimpse of hope that there will ever be some hearty and sincere attempt to put them into practice. So, that's a modest proposal. That's why, and again, I would stress it's like 20 pages. You can go and read it very quickly. Like there's tons of stuff I left out, but I can't just read the whole thing. But it still has just blown my mind that this is what a modest proposal is about. And I need to go and just do some research now and find out like what happened to Swift after he wrote this. Was it just like just a funny thing? Did he create some ruckus? Did anyone eat any babies is the big question. But yeah, if anyone knows about what happened in the fallout, and also if anybody knows any similar or likewise essays or things just in this kind of British satire wit tradition, I would love to read some more. I think I'll call it there. Go and read Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal, and I will see you all tomorrow for the next video.